Hey guys, PierceKlugs here, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about an introduction to building NPC behaviors. Now, as we've already talked about in the past, was the animating process of Hytale. And we kind of went through a lot of things pertaining to creating your own NPCs, creating your own world, and now we're actually getting into behaviors. So as I read through this, remember that this is basically a continuation of their last animated video, that we went over. And it's important that we know that this is gonna be a big part of making your characters in Hytale fun and interactive. In today's article, we're going to give you an overview of how Hytale's behavior scripting system provides ways to bring NPCs and creatures to life. To do this, we're going to show you some aspects of twerk behavior, how they react to the player, the environment, and each other. Of course, these principles apply to Hytale's other creatures too, and all of them will be customizable by modders. As ever, all of the screenshots and clips in this post represent work in progress, and details may well change over the course of future development. So now we have kind of a little visual that will show us exactly what they're talking about. So we have little animations and stuff like that. And also, just to let you guys know that multiple animations can be created for the sake of making your creations. So keep that in mind as we go through this. After a creature has been designed and its model and animations have been created in Hytale Model Maker, the NPC developers are tasked with bringing it to life using the behavior scripting system. The system uses JSON scripts that, or I think it's JSON scripts that call on modular behavior elements that allow us to specify how an NPC perceives the world and how it reacts in a variety of situations. These scripts can trigger animations, changes in state, and more. A very simple example of this would be a script that determines whether a creature that has been attacked flees or attempts to defend itself. More sophisticated scripts can send NPCs chasing after players or cause them to seek out things they like, such as campfires or food. We use building blocks to create an NPC from the ground up, says developer Isoph Griffin. We have sensors that are how an NPC interprets the world around it, and that's how it decides what it wants to do. Then we have actions and motions, which are how they will then interact with the world or their target or whatever it is that they're focusing on. We will combine these to build components and templates from which variants can quickly and easily be derived. So, as we can see from the picture below, it kind of shows how the format of a JSON file works. So, it's very, very straightforward. You have different things that you have to look at, and also, it's kind of how config files worked in Java plugins and mods. You're basically filling out a section, and then you kind of put it in brackets, and then you kind of fill that section out. And that establishes the behavior of that creature. So, if you wanted to, you can make killer rabbits with this specific type of scripting. In this example, you can see a snippet of the script that causes twerks to spring into action when they see the player. The script handles several elements of this interaction, triggers an alerted animation, which helps the player understand that they've been spotted. It also indicates a beacon response that causes other twerks within a certain radius to be alerted to the player's presence too. The exact details of the interaction can be precisely tweaked, but the overall implementation is grounded on the top-level templates that are common to most NPCs. This modular approach to behavior makes it easier to implement entirely new NPCs or creatures. When you script an NPC, you don't need to specify things like swing a sword or move X distance to the right, Isuf explains. Simply applying an abstract component like flee or seek is enough. The behavior system then handles the basics of carrying out the desired action. At the most basic level, the easiest way to create an NPC is to use existing templates, he says. These templates are made of components that we built out of sensors, actions, and motions to make it easy to reuse behaviors across multiple scripts. One example of a component is sound detection, Isuf explains. This uses a combination of sensors that allow an NPC to interpret its environment. When you drop a new NPC into the world, it should be able to cope with environments that it hasn't been specifically scripted for, at least to some degree, he says. An important feature of this whole system is high reusability, says the developer Eric Reinhardt. It's easy to modify existing behaviors, replace parts, and it's also easy to build up something new. For someone who wants to mod things or create content, the advantage is that it's easy to make simple modifications, Eric continues, but it also allows modders to change everything down to the smallest detail. So the article basically is explaining that everything has been pre-made for scripters to build on. All the scripts are easily built upon and can be built on by previous modders of Minecraft, which kind of helps out with a lot of things. Here's an example by adding a few extra parameters to the Chork's Hunter's behavior script. We can add bears to the list of creatures that cause them to enter an alert state. So as you can see, there's kind of like an alert state right there, and that's kind of their example. Now we've got a Chork Hunter who yells at bears. This is purely an example. They won't necessarily do this in the final game. Even so, this provides an example of how straightforward it is to introduce new details to the creature's behavior. Often the behavior set for a new NPC will be mapped out by the design team before it comes to be implemented. Sometimes this means adding new features to the behavior system that then expand the possibilities of the system further. Occasionally, however, surprises during development will lead to the addition of new behavioral quirks. Some small pieces get added during the process, Isuf explains. For example, Chorks have a sparring behavior, where they start punching each other. When I was implementing this, a defeated Chork would change state. Sometimes they'd immediately switch to a nap state. This was funny because it looked like they had been knocked out. I implemented it properly, and currently sparring Chorks will knock each other out after a fight. The team's intent is to create creatures and NPCs that contribute to the immersiveness of the world by acting independently of the player. By learning how each creature reacts, players can then come up with creative ways to interact with them. For example, Chorks have a particular fondness for discarded meat. So that alone shows that creatures will be able to pick up items. And I'm really excited about this because now we have something worth grabbing quickly, and every item that you drop will have an effect when it comes in-game. How the player chooses to take advantage of this information is completely up to them. The team has found that combining lots of simple behaviors can produce a surprisingly lifelike result. I created a script for a Chork archer and was trying to test how well the archer fires, Eric says. This was the first time when we had the possibility for NPCs to switch weapon. It was amazing to try to pursue this archer, and when you were close enough, he would turn around and attack you with a melee weapon. Having these really simple actions combined together was really rewarding. In the clip above, you can see an example of several simple Chork behaviors working together. The Chork is napping outside, and when it begins to rain, this triggers a change of state from asleep to awake, at which point the Torque decides to seek out somewhere warm. He then moves to a nearby campfire and sits down. Several different elements of the Torque's behavior script are involved in creating this moment, but taken together they create a sense of the creature's personality. Our goal with the behavior system is to furnish the player with immersive moments like this, and we're excited to see what the modders can come up with when they get their hands on it. Here are a few more examples of NPC behaviors that you may encounter as you explore Orbis. Guys, I'm super excited about some of the things that we're going to see, especially when it comes to Hytale, and honestly, I don't know anything that can be as immersive as this. Like, honestly, the amount of change that we can implement onto the game is astounding. When servers are available, I'm hoping that I can get my own server up, and I really want you guys to be able to help me out with this project. I'm going to be creating something very similar once the game actually comes out, and I'll start scripting myself. Hopefully that I'll be able to start scripting tutorials, and maybe if Hytale ever lets me get my hands on it, I can learn some of the scripting so you guys can learn in the future. Thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out!